You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 277 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by HandsOnGloves, the all-in-one revolutionary bathing and grooming and shedding gloves. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network, and today we announce a change-up format for Horsemanship Radio that everyone is excited about. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer, Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hi-ho!
Really exciting to have you here because we are changing up formats a little bit. I think getting into it may be something that because you love tips and training techniques so well, you may have influenced me a lot there, but also I think you like all our accents of all these instructors we have all over the world.
Fun. It's so fun to hear all these different voices from all over the place. It's so cool.
Different cultures and different ways of approaching things and everything, but all with a shared love of horses. So yeah, I wanted to talk to our listeners about that a little bit today as we kick off some series coming up in May.
Dun, dun, dun. So changing it up a little bit, I think that the focus is going to start to change a little bit more towards takeaways, things that you can implement either mentally, emotionally as an inspirational, or plain old, no, I'm not going to say boring, plain old takeaway tips. Do this thing, or do not do this thing and do this thing instead.
That's true. Stop doing this thing.
Because that's an important thing too, is I think that's something we often forget to do. Change this habit or this technique that you do currently and use this one instead. Instead of just adding more, let's do some replacing.
Yep. Probably the hardest thing. Change. How many people like the word change? No, they don't as a rule. And horsemanship is very traditional as a rule because it's passed down from generation to generation. So sometimes we have to stop and think, but why did we pass it down? And is it the best way to go about it? And so we have some pretty good insights coming today. So we're going to kick off the series starting today. Really, this is a May format change. And as we sit, it's toward the middle of April right now, but we're going to kick off the series that it highlights tips and techniques for training horses. So each month we'll put out a new episode by one of our Monty Roberts certified instructors. We're going to ask them to share some of their superpowers, some of their best skills when training and caring for horses. And we have instructors all over the world, as we said, and they all love the horses, as we said. So who better to learn from than these people that are out there doing it and teaching it? Jen, you know what everybody says about teaching. It's one thing to do. It's a whole nother level to teach. Patience and trust and all those things that go into not only training horses, but also training the people. Horses are fine, as we always say. It's how we, as trainers, handle the horses. So now, surprise, surprise, is that the other monthly episode, right? We always have 2 episodes of Horsemanship Radio per month. That is going to be different. It's going to consist of Monty reading his best-selling books. So, right, I know. And so some people have never heard the audio versions of his books, and there's nothing quite as inspiring to me as listening to the stories of a person who has spent a lifetime training championship horses and about the people who own them and what they did to get those horses to perform at the highest level. And it was all good because Monty was involved. So fortunately, Monty is willing to do this labor of love, reading many of his books that he's done over the years, over a long period of time. If anybody's ever tried to do that, I'm trying to do that right now with the Little Shy Boy baby book. It's not easy.
It's very hard to do audiobooks.
It is. Yeah. I stumble over words. Okay, start again. And so once per month, we're going to put up, and the second segment is going to be a segment of the book, and we'll do those. These are not like Ashley's, though. If anybody knows her books,
these are not sleep stories.
Not sleep stories. These are not to put you to sleep. No, they're really exciting. And very few authors are asked to read their books. They usually have paid professionals that read the books, and it's not in the author's voice. So, but it's so personal when it's an autobiography that Dad insisted that, if he could do it, he wanted to do it. So we'll get to hear from the master himself. And speaking of which, what would we start with in tips and techniques, but with the master himself, Monty Roberts? And given that he's more than 85 plus years of continuously and successfully working with horses across all the breeds and disciplines, we got to start with him. So we're going to give you 3 of, I think, some of his more interesting questions quite often asked, and then his answers to some of those. And I wanted to start out with one of his most beloved quotes, is that the good trainer can get a horse to do most anything, but the great trainer can cause the horse to want to do it.
Our title sponsor, Hands On Gloves, who support us and are our reason for being here, actually have a little innovation that you were telling me about with Nigel.
Yes, Nigel. This was inspired. I was watching some of the videos over on the Hands On Gloves YouTube page.
That's cool. Yeah.
And it has great ideas for using your hands on gloves if you ever want to spend a little time on YouTube, and who doesn't want to do that? In the wintertime, Nigel does not get clipped because his hair coat doesn't really get very thick, and he lives out of doors. It's a very light winter coat, and that's a real struggle in the winter because you want to get deep down into the hair when you dry them off, because what can happen is you can get rain rot if the top of the hair dries before the skin does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all used towels to dry our horses off. You swipe back and forth, but that's it. It doesn't get to the skin. It only dries the top.
It does.
So you take the old hands-on gloves, which you've got on anyway, because that's what you were using to scrub your horse.
You washed it with. Yeah, that's right.
Just grab a towel, toss it on your horse, and you dry the horse using your gloved hand. And those little bumples on the gloves get down between the hairs and dry the skin off. It's awesome.
It's awesome. And they love it. I mean, who doesn't like to be snuggled in a blankie?
If you give them a good once over with a towel and your hands-on glove, then when you do throw the cooler over top, you've fluffed up all that hair.
Yes.
So that it can allow the moisture from the skin to come up through. If the hair's mushed down flat, it's going to do its job of keeping things just the way they are. So grab yourself a pair of hands-on gloves from HandsOnGloves.com or your local tack retailer. You can find them everywhere. They come in lots of different sizes and colors.
Yep.
And give it a try for yourself.
This is a good question that you get a lot, Dad. How does one apply the join-up method without a round pin? So people feel like they're limited if they don't have a round pin. Is that true?
Well, they do. People do feel they're limited without a round pin. And they are, in a way. But you can't ask the whole world to have a round pin, a perfect round pin, for one horse that they're going to ride for the rest of the horse's life. So, what do we do as an alternative to a round pin in the incidents whereby we have a horse, we're a casual amateur rider, and the horse isn't broken, and we want to do join up before we put a saddle on and do those things? Be safe. The fence has to be safe. I'm not going to tell you to just grab anything and put it up there that could be dangerous to the horse. Small diameters of wire and things like that are not acceptable in this case. But you can take the panels of a trucker and borrow them for a day or two or whatever and create a round pin that are pretty darn safe. And you might pay the trucker $20 or something to use 10 round pin panels and set up a solid, that is strong, round pin. It should be at least 6 feet high. That's at least. I like it 7 or 8 feet high, but it should be at least 6 feet high And you have to go by your horse, too. If he's a 17-hand thoroughbred, 6 feet is probably too low. So think about that. But you can make up portable round pens by going into a square pen, 100 feet by 100 feet, and go to the corner and get yourself about 4 or 5 panels that I'm describing, and you will have pictures of those too so that you can see what it is. Mine are about 8-bar panels, and 4 or 5 of them will go in the corner of a big healthy pen already constructed and make a triangular pen. The round part of this is only to keep the horse from going into a corner where they can't go forward so easy. When they get to the change in direction of these panels, they should be open enough so that it looks like they can get away by just going forward. So if you've gotten 2 panels too few and your horse is finding a corner, get a couple more panels and make a round pen. And we are here. So send us a picture of your round pen, and we'll try to help you make sure that you're going to be safe. And the picture should include your horse in there so that we know how high the horse is and how high the panel is and the angles and whether or not they would make a smooth circle in this particular enclosure.
Yeah, that's good. I have seen some of those photos, and they're great. A lot of people have put bales in the corners, and cut those corners off that way to keep the energy flowing. People have put cavalettis up on barrels. Mm-hmm. People think of the cleverest things.
Feeding horses at ground level isn't just natural, it's better for their health and well-being, and here is why. Healthy teeth and joints. Hay pillow mimics natural grazing for proper wear and movement. Less strain. Eating with their head down reduces stress on bones and muscles. Calmer horses, and who doesn't want that? Head-up feeding can cause tension. Grazing position equals relaxed. Better vision. Hay pillow has no blocked peripheral sight, and it means less stress. Clear airways. Hay pillow helps nasal drainage, and it reduces dust inhalation. No hay in the eyes. Hay pillow keeps dust and debris out. If you want the best slow feeding options, check out thehaypillow.com for tips and a quick quiz.
This question is, what do I do with my horse who's frightened of spray? I cannot spray water on him. I cannot use insect repellent. He goes ballistic. What do you suggest? Well, let's stop and think about this for a minute. What is the sound of spray? Well, it's almost identical to the sound of a rattlesnake. And when the horse hears that sound, they get the heck out of there. That's their natural action to take to save their life. I suggest that you get a box stall or a close enclosure of no more than 12 or 14 feet square, or in diameter about 12, 14 feet if it's round. Make the barriers safe. Don't give them sharp objects, and don't give them places where they can stick their legs through panels and things like that. But then begin to spray whatever it is we want to deal with. I like to start with the little can that sprays, and it gets a good sound, and you don't have it on top of you if the horse bolts and bangs into the walls and things like that. You're not as nearly as likely to hurt your horse if you start with a very small spray, and start well away so that the horse can look back at it and say, Well, that's okay if you stay there. And then begin your approach one step at a time, one spray at a time, until the horse slows down that act of running away from the spray. Pretty soon you're right at the barrier, whether it's the wall of a stall or it's the panels of a round pen that don't have a place for him to put his legs through. You stay right there and spray. You don't spray on him. Start as far as you can from him and have him still hear the spray, and gradually bring the spray toward him.
Do you have a head collar and a lead on him at this point, or is he free in this area?
One can use a head collar, but I like to just turn them loose in that enclosure because they make up their mind what to do and they're not influenced by some force to hold them there. So I think it goes quicker for me when I just turn them loose in there. And you can start with a very small can and a very light sound coming from it, and then gradually change. And you can get the cheapest doggone perfume spray or whatever you...
Little garden spray, or maybe a little plastic bottle?
Yeah, plastic bottle with water in it is fine.
Right.
That's what I do. I use about a quart bottle and a squeeze trigger and put water in it. Fresh water. But the bottle you choose wants to have a good squeak to it when the water comes out. And some do and some don't. But as you gradually work toward the horse, I have proven that you can take the most frightened horse at the squeaky sound and be spraying him all over with water on the first, second, or third day. Almost never is it going into the fourth day. I know you're apt to say, but my horse is really bad, and it might take me 10 or 12 days. Well, then you're doing it wrong. You gradually approach, and I guarantee you with the small sound, that will happen where the horse comes a little bit step toward it on about the second or third day. And pretty soon, you can rub the horse with a curry comb. They like that. Step back and give it one spray, and then rub with the curry comb again. You'll find several ways to approach that body, which will startle them a little bit at first, and then get used to it, but never cause them pain of any kind. And that's why I leave the halter off, because the halter will feel like pain to them if they run against it. And you don't need more than about 12 feet.
Choice-based. So you're doing a choice-based methodology. And I've seen it where you've used two horses at a time. One, an older horse that loves being sprayed down, maybe on a warm day even, or something like that. What is that all about?
Oh, that's a very good point, because I didn't use a second horse in this answer, because not all of the students will have a second horse that will do it.
Sure.
Or a second horse that will stand very still. But if you have an old 15-year-old or something that just isn't bothered by spray at all, and you tie that horse not to the wall of where the other horse is, but where they can see the other horse, and generally I back a small wall up to a firm wall, and the small wall is portable, and I put the horse in there. Then you can tie up the old quiet horse and just go spray him all over. And then take your horse home and put him away. Tomorrow, do the same thing, and he'll look and he'll think, if it's all right for him, it's probably all right for me too. Mm-hmm. But you gradually work in the absence of any pain whatsoever.
Yeah, I even saw you with the older horse. You would squirt the older horse and then accidentally squirt over the top of the older horse, and it would gently
Yeah, that's a good point, because the accidentally part is a very good way to go. You don't look at your target horse at all. You just keep looking at the old horse, and you spray him and spray him and spray him, and then you happen to make a mistake and just take a squirt toward your problem horse. And the first time, he's going to jump and run as far as he can in that little thing, which is about 3 steps or so. And he's going to look back, and you're just spraying your other horse. But the other horse didn't move. Now remember that in the wild, a rattlesnake buzzes, and the whole herd flies away. And if they don't, somebody dies. So, and the one that dies really just let the rattlesnake get too close. And as they bolted to run away, this one was already bitten. And they run about 100 yards, sometimes 200 yards, and they start to just sink down, and it's hitting their system, and they lay down and die, and the predator eats the flesh of the flight animal. And so these things are created in nature so that the horse stays alive. And don't blame the horse for it. Hitting the horse, screaming at the horse, anything that agitates the horse is a bad answer. Be quiet and use the spray away, 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 and then closer and closer and closer, and no pain of any kind.
Imagine if you could take Monty to the barn with you. Watch and learn as he addresses each challenge with your horse and answers your questions too. You head to the arena and you work on each new lesson, knowing Monty's there to encourage you, all with violence-free, tried and true methods. After all, he's been helping train horse lovers all his life. With his online university, you could be like Kathy, a retired teacher who just bought her first horse.
Recently, I went to a tack shop to look for a smaller halter. 61, just purchased my 14 hands POA the day after my birthday, just a few weeks ago, after never having had a horse. And yes, that's crazy, but as a retired teacher who never had a hobby other than teaching, I decided to go for it. My hubby and I have taken lessons this past year, but I really longed for a relationship with a horse. The only other experience I'd ever had was to ride a horse in Philly, Pennsylvania, my hometown, when I was 16, and I got bucked off. And that was it until I was 61. Well, the owner of this tack shop, this precious lady, 84-year-old lady, gave me a copy of this magazine, Equine Monthly. And the article I read in it was Horses Are Biofeedback Beings. And it was just so interesting. I really felt like I just found a pot of gold when I read it, because in it talked about Monty's online university and that I could have access to 575 videos for $10 a month. And before that, I was just searching YouTube for everything I could find. But truthfully, that's just a pain. I love that the uni videos are concise and they're in order. They have extra notes and a quiz. And I just can't thank you enough for the huge blessing of your online university. It really has changed my life, and I will never be the same. I've had my horse Jack now for 7 weeks, and thanks to the videos, I've done join up with him, and it really worked like a dream. I had to do it in an arena, but it still worked. Thanks to Monty's lessons and the cues and the hand signals, the ability to watch the lessons over and over on demand is incredible. So I also want to thank you so very much for making the online university affordable for this retired teacher. Thank you so much for all that you do for everyone who really wants to love a horse. Kathy.
I like this question a lot. Why do you touch the horse on the forehead, and why do you touch it so frequently?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know, I think back when I was 9, 10, 11, in that late 40s area, and people were saying to me, why were you touching the horse on the forehead? And what I'm telling you is that the horses taught me this. And that's one of the most sensitive areas on the horse's body. They don't let a predator into that area. So if you can go up and rub the shoulder, that's one of the easiest places to rub. The withers, where the mane comes from, right the top of the neck there, and go on up until you're rubbing the ears, they'll generally let you walk that ladder. And then when you've walked that ladder, you can slide your hand around and just slide over the face of the horse, right between the eyes, and walk away. And the horse, you can watch the horse go, holy moly, that wasn't bad. I can do this. And so you repeat the process. Remember that horses' IQ is not the same as a human. They need to see it several times and believe you before they allow something like this to happen. You wouldn't do it to a hock. You wouldn't do it to a knee. You wouldn't do it to a belly. But if you can slide from the shoulder up the neck, by the ears, and across the face, you can begin to show them that allowing you to go in and rub between the eyes is securing themselves in safety measures because they know you're not going to hurt them. And I like to do that before any join-up is done. And then the join-up goes faster because they always have a place you can get to where they take a breath, relax, and start thinking about the next thing. And you might come on down to the nose, and you might put a finger in the corner of their mouth or under their chin and jaw, and then just build on it as you go. But don't just go in there and say, you're going to let me touch you here or there, or else I will cause you pain. No pain is allowed. You can't have pain and cause the horse to want you to go into dangerous areas.
Yeah, that's good. So he is actually teaching you how he becomes trustworthy. So that is earning trust when you do that?
Well, the horse has taught me.
Yeah.
And I went through that school, and I had cowboys telling me, what is all that namby-pamby stuff? Yeah. Why don't you just give your horse a cookie?
People do feed cookies.
They feed cookies. They feed bits of grain. They feed bits of alfalfa.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's horrible. You're telling them that it's all right to eat from your hand, so I'll take a bite of it because maybe more will come. And pretty soon, without any question, the people that use this system will have a biting horse. Mm-hmm. And then they'll slap the horse for biting.
Good point.
Holy moly. Mm-hmm. Pretty soon, they have a very dangerous horse to be around. And some of you are out there thinking that these things are kind of crazy, but in actual fact, they taught a teenager how to do this so that they would be a friend of the teenager instead of an enemy.
That was you.
That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you learned to earn their trust by their gestures.
Yeah, I didn't learn it from any human beings, I tell you.
I think people sometimes do. We like, as humans, to feed animals. We like to feed ducks. Yeah. We like to feed squirrels. We like to do that. But
there's two ways they go. One, like you say, they like to stuff things in their mouth that they like to taste. It's a wrong way to go. Also, they rope the horse, the cowboys do, out there, jerk him down, maybe rope him by the front feet, and jerk him down, run and get on his neck, grab an ear and roll his head back so he can't get up. You see it all the time on these ranches. Mm-hmm. You see it all the time.
Mm-hmm. World over.
And then they'll start rubbing his head like they're being really nice to him.
Yeah.
The horse will connect pain and no pain 50-50, and you never know when you might be bitten or kicked or struck with a front foot. But if they always trust, for good reason, you're far better off.
Whisper the language of the herd.
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged. And that's April 21 through 25. We have Monty's special training, and we know how special that is. We have a circus of horses ready for him, and he never met them. It's fun. And then on May, we have a Horsemanship 101. May 17th, we have a Horsemanship 101. We do those regularly. April's was full up. We had to cut it off because everybody was signing up too fast. And then May 18th, we have a Mountain Trail Play Day. So we do those once a month. Super fun. And May 19 to 23, there's still room in this one, and it's fun. Gentling Wild Horse Course. That's 5 days, May 19 to 23. And of course, we get wild horses in there. And we also are going to have a little special side note. We have instructors coming in for Dad's birthday on May 14th, and some will be able to stay for the Gentling Wild Horse Course. And actually, some people are getting their exams in the Gentling Wild Horse Course too, which is pretty exciting.
Ooh, bonus info. Cool. That's going to be a good one to sign up for there.
Yeah.
And you can have all of this and more at your one-stop shop for all things Monty Roberts. It's montyroberts.com. You can also speak to a well-informed and kind person at Flag Is Up Farms by calling 805-688-6288. And for notes about today's show, as I said, go to montyroberts.com. You can also go to horsemanshipradio.com. That's just the podcast. If you go to montyroberts.com, you're going to find the podcast and everything else. That's my recommendation. That's my personal opinion.
I agree. There's so much there.
There's so much there. And we love your feedback. Great way to have some feedback, to get some feedback to us, is on social. On Facebook, it's Monty Roberts, the one with the little blue check mark. On X as well as Instagram, it's Monty_Roberts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Instagram. Beautiful. They're doing such a good job on that. I'm so glad I handed it over. Many thanks to our sponsors, too. We have them in spades this month. We have HandsOnGloves, as always. Jay Michelson and his crew are amazing. And it is that time of year, folks. The shedding begins. The Hay Pillow. Monique over at the Hay Pillow is a fabulous horsewoman who knows how to feed her horses naturally. And Monty Roberts Equus Online University. That's our reason for being, to share the mission and have horses all over the world using gentle concepts. Be sure to visit all the other great shows on the Horse Radio Network too at www.horseradionetwork.com. Until next time, have many happy horse hours.